Warrior's Journey. Hey guys, it's Shido here, and I rolled a warrior. Something I didn't expect to do. Not only did I raid with a warrior, but I got to Grand Marshal with a warrior, and it's been a lot of fun. Today, I want to show you guys macros to get you started for your new warrior or even your existing one. Let's check it out. Okay, so we're gonna go over macros in real time. The biggest two reasons that you want to have macros established: one, you want to have a method of auto attack built into an ability. That way you can hit the target even if you don't have enough rage to use the ability. As a warrior, you don't gain rage unless you're attacking something or being attacked. So it's really important. And then also switching stances or stance swapping is, there's a lot of abilities that require that. So you can actually build these commands into the macro and set it up so it's a lot easier one button use. And it's just really convenient. It's something that once you try it out, figure it out, get comfortable, get used to making macros, the easier your life becomes. So at first it can be overwhelming. That's normal. So let's start off with accessing the macro menu. So a few ways you could do this. You can hit escape and then go to macros. You can also use this chat bubble here by your chat window and select macro, or type in /macro. So we access this. There are two pages, two tabs up top. One are your shared macros amongst all the characters, and then you also have your specific ones to this character. And unfortunately, they don't give you a whole lot in your personal character, so they will spill over into your general macros, and that's just the way it is. Warriors are probably one of the most dependent for macros, because you want to have like a start attack macro, a command built in every one, so that way you make sure that you're auto attacking. So we'll start off with a simple one that it's an ability you get early on. We'll look at Heroic Strike. And if I were to create a new macro right now, this is what it would look like. We'll go to new. When you're making a macro, you can select an icon, you can name it whatever you want. But if you want it to look uniform and to look like the original ability where it shows the tooltip when you scroll over and all the accurate information, you're just going to leave this part blank. We'll do a space to allow us to click OK, and just leave it a question mark, because what's going to happen is we're going to put in a command that gives it the visual of the original ability. So we're going to pound or hashtag show tooltip, one word, space, then you can name any ability that you want for it to show. So we're gonna do Heroic Strike. Okay, you can enter the ability, you hit save, and now it's already gonna look like a Heroic Strike. If you did not do this, okay, it would still be a question mark. I'm gonna say hello to this guy. Give him a salute. All right, so back to it. We are on this macro here. So if I don't enter a name of an ability, that's okay, because I can still create the macro, and the game is smart enough. It finds if you're using an ability in the macro, it will show the tooltip of that ability. So that's more of a specific thing that you don't really have to worry about, or more advanced thing. So we're gonna enter a start attack macro or a command inside the macro. What that does is it makes it so now we will be auto attacking with this button, even if there's not enough rage to do anything else. It's always going to do a start attack. It's always going to start your auto swings. Then the next line will do a cast or /use. Either one works. Heroic strike. Okay. We don't have to insert a rank or anything because we're melee. There's not different ranks. Once you learn a new rank, that replaces the old one. And then we'll click save. And now I have a macro here that is a heroic strike. It's going to start my auto attack, and it's also going to use heroic strike if I have enough rage. I drag it out onto my bar, or all of my bars, if I'm doing different stances. And if you see now, if I scroll over, it looks just like original button. It has the tooltip, and it shows you how much rage and all the information, and it has the appropriate name. So that's how you build a macro. There's a lot of cool things you can do with them. Some are a little more advanced. You just thinking of anything that you want to be able to do with a press of a button, and you're able to do it like that. So that's an example. If you look here, I have macros for, blood rage, where I start attack. I have a auto attack, bow, shoot bow or throw or whatever ranged attack macro. I have one for charge. I have one for rend. So there's a lot of them, and if I were to go through each and every one, it'd probably be just a big chunk of time. So what I'm going to do is post a link to a document that I have that has the list of all of these macros, and they're all pretty self-explanatory, and just practicing them is what's going to get you better at them. You can watch all the videos in the world, but nothing beats real experience. So just keep practicing, use them early on in your leveling process, and it'll be a lot easier to it just gives you more time to practice them, and you get better with them. By the time you're 60, by the time you're in rating, it's going to be second nature and something that you don't have to think about. So that's exactly how it works. And maybe we'll get some action practice real quick. Okay, so we're going to check out some of my favorite macros. It's going to be fun. So I'm also playing in Action Cam. I started doing that recently, and I really can't I find myself using it all the time now, so can't really help it. But yeah, macros. So for instance, I have a macro that I will use that will put me into battle stance in order to charge if I'm not in combat. If I am in combat, it will allow me to intercept and put me in berserker stance, of course. But right now you can see I'm in berserker stance. I don't know if you can see, there's battle stance, there's berserker stance. Now I'm going to use this ability, one button, to charge him. It puts me into battle stance and then immediately allows the charge to go off. One button, so I only had to press it one time. There are certain macros that aren't, as simple. Sometimes you have to press them multiple times, but for the most part, one button press. So that's an example of what a macro can do. What did I pull? Okay, so we're fighting Scorpion now. All right, I'm in battle stance. I have plenty of rage. I want to use a whirlwind. I have a whirlwind macro that puts me into berserker stance and uses whirlwind as soon as I have enough rage. So that's another example. I want to charge now. It's going to switch me to battle stance. I charge. If I want to taunt this thing off of somebody, I have a defensive stance macro that taunts for me. Now I'm in defensive stance. So there's a lot of cool functionality with macros. It makes, like I said, life a lot easier. And the more you practice them, the better you'll get with them. So I have 3 targets. We'll get overpowered at some point. There's an overpower. Okay, and then I just swapped stances. Immediately I'm able to utilize it. So that was my whole point of that. But that's an example of how you want to use certain macros. Now, you'll find macros that are really useful, like shield wall. So shield wall, in this macro particularly, we have the start attack, we have cast defensive stance, so it puts you into defensive stance, and then you have the option to insert your weapons. So I have like really old weapons that I don't have anymore loaded up. So sorry, go to your character screen or your bag, whichever, and then we're gonna find my shield. I'm gonna just shift click it to insert it there, and then for my weapon I'm going to use the longsword, Grand Marshal's longsword. So then there you go, you click save, so it'll put you into defensive stance, equip your sword and shield, and pop shield wall all in one macro. The macro that I use for charge and intercept is this one here. It's going to be posted on the document, but this one is the you'll see that there's in parentheses or in the brackets there's no combat and combat. So those are like conditions that if they're being met, the macro will utilize the appropriate thing. So for instance, if I'm not in battle, it'll charge, it'll put me in battle stance. If I am in combat, it'll put me into berserker stance and use intercept. And then I also threw in the hamstring, because you can throw hamstring onto any macro in order to have an extra ability. Like, it's really useful on a charge macro because you can charge if you're at range. If you're in melee range, you'll hamstring. So you can also put it on your bow macro or your pooling macro where you use like your ranged ability. So you have a lot of options, and like I said, it just opens up your gameplay, makes things a lot more simple, smooth, fun in my opinion, because you can do a lot more actions per minute. So yeah, that's how it works. And yeah, so if you guys find this helpful, definitely give it a like, give the channel a subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. I am going to continue just the whole process, building more content, sharing with you guys my tips and tricks. I reached Grand Marshal on this guy, so I'm very, very happy, ready for AQ. Tomorrow we'll be launching our guild will be going into our first AQ40, so this should be a fun time. I'm gonna try to record as much as I can, streaming it, so definitely check that out as long as my internet allows me to. And yeah, anything else like this you guys want to see, just leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys want to see. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Check it out. The spreadsheet's going to be again posted in the description, so check that out. You'll have access to that Word document. It's going to have all the macros. All you do is just copy and paste it over, and be easy peasy. All right, until next time guys, take care.